Fred's life was one of isolation. His parents, engrossed in demanding careers, came home late each night, leaving him to his own devices. As a teenager in a new school, Fred struggled to make connections, often feeling like a shadow amongst his classmates. That was until a mysterious tape appeared in his locker one day. The tape had a simple handwritten label, "Watch Me." Intrigued, and with nothing better to do, Fred decided to play it on his old VHS player that night. What he didn't expect was the haunting imagery, disturbing, disjointed scenes, and a chilling well from which a pale girl with long black hair covering her face emerged. The video concluded with a distorted voice stating, "You have 7 days." The next day, Fred attempted to find the classmate who'd slipped the tape into his locker. The only hint was a fleeting memory of a quiet girl he'd never spoken to. He could remember her sad, haunting eyes, but not her name. Days began to blur for Fred. Everywhere he went, a reflection of the pale girl, whom he soon recognized as Sadako, trailed him. Mirrors, water surfaces, even the screens of his electronics would momentarily flash her image, her eyes piercing into his soul. To make matters worse, his phone would ring at odd hours, with no one on the other end, just the eerie static similar to the video. Realizing the gravity of his situation, Fred turned to the internet to research the legend of Sadako. Stories spoke of her tragic past, how she was thrown into a well and left for dead, and her spirit sought revenge through the cursed tape. The only way to break the curse? Solve Sadako's mystery. His research led him to an old journalist's blog detailing Sadako's life. Fred discovered she had unique psychic abilities that led to her being ostracized and feared. As the days passed, he gathered fragmented information. A specific lullaby Sadako's mother sang, a rare flower she loved, and a forgotten shrine dedicated to her. By the 6th day, the occurrences grew more terrifying. Sadako's apparitions became tangible. She would stand at the foot of Fred's bed, her damp hair dripping onto the floor, her whispered voice recounting her agonies. In sheer desperation, on the 7th day, Fred visited the shrine he'd read about. The entrance was overgrown, indicating it had been years since anyone had been there. He cleaned the shrine, placed the rare flower he'd found at the local florist, and hummed the lullaby he discovered online. As dusk settled, Fred felt a chilling breeze. He turned to face Sadako, but instead of her usual terrifying visage, her face appeared more human, her eyes less malevolent. "You've returned what was taken from me," she whispered, a hint of melancholy in her voice. "My peace." The next moment she vanished, leaving Fred in the enveloping silence of the shrine. He had broken the curse. Returning home, Fred felt an unexpected weight lifted from his shoulders. The tape, which had been sitting ominously on his table, had turned to dust. But more than that, the ordeal had changed him. The once lonely teenager had faced one of his most significant fears, teaching him about empathy, resilience, and the power of understanding. Days turned into weeks, and Fred's life began to shift. He made an effort to connect with his classmates, and soon, stories of his bravery spread, making him a legend in his school. However, every year on the anniversary of that fateful day, Fred would return to the shrine, not out of fear, but out of respect and remembrance for the spirit who had inadvertently changed his life forever. And every time he visited, if one listened closely, the haunting lullaby could be heard, a gentle reminder of the bond between the living and the dead.